Yo, what's good? This is Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Y'all watching Hip Hop Uncensored
Hip Hop Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Oh God, driving Sam and riding passenger side. And you heard it out the mouth of the greatest rapper.
You know, there's a couple of the, couple of the big questions, with the larger asterisks next to them. Yeah.
Man.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Oh no, finish your thought, please.
No. There's you guys will just have to stop me. I mean, because I could go. I guess the last thing I'll leave you with that there's another individual. His name is Joshua John Birga, aka Kid Flashy. He took one of the last photos with Nip. He did an interview with a show that goes by the LA Show. And in this interview, Joshua John Birga, he says, yeah, I was there. There's this guy, the guy that there's an old man there that Nipsey lets him sweep up the plaza. So he mistakes Sloss and Bruce for being Kerry Lathan. He says, yeah, well, that guy, he pulled out a weapon and he fired back at Eric Ronald Holder. Joshua John Birga he's an eyewitness. You watch him on the Camera 6 videotape. It's been coined as the TMZ video, but the security camera footage, that's a Camera 6 according to the exhibits. And you watch Joshua John Birga is right there watching everything. So it's like, whoa. So this witness that wasn't called is saying that there was a secondary shooter there, and he's pinning Kerry Lathan, confusing his identity for Sloss and Bruce, but he's saying that Kerry Lathan pulled out a firearm and shot back. Like, how to the district attorney John McKinney, like, we would like to know why that witness wasn't called. Why wasn't he taught? He wouldn't have been a hard guy to track down. He ran into some legal problems and he's now residing in Attica Correctional Facility. So, this would have been an easy guy to get a hold of. Like, we're going to need to subpoena him for a testimony,
Right. Now, you said a lot, man. It's a lot to uncover there, but I want to ask you about the the camera angles. How come none of the other stores, in your opinion, like you had a T-Mobile store, I'm thinking there were no other camera angles, but besides the one where he ran past, went into the burger joint and ran past the burger joint. Then they got the one like across the street. So what happened to the other camera angles? Do you know anything about that? And how come
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's what I'm gonna do is what they call it here, back channel. I'm gonna send you guys a link right now.
Okay.
A lot of people miss this for whatever reason, but this is an article. I try to keep it as I try to stay with the Wire, the credible services, and like the .gov websites as much as I can. So this information here comes from the Associated Press, and this article is from Andrew Dalton. It came out on April 10th of 2019. The title of it is "Court Papers Confirm a Shooting During the Vigil for the Slain Rapper." So I'm not going to read the whole article, just the key points, though. Los Angeles, 2 women were wounded by gunfire last week as a crowd scattered during a vigil for Nipsey Hussle hours after the rapper was killed. And police are looking for the shooter, according to court papers obtained Wednesday by the Associated Press. So we're going to skip down. Excuse me, fellas. We're going to skip down a couple of paragraphs here. And we'll find out here what happened to those. So it's about the 5th or 6th paragraph down. Police Wednesday said that the women were treated for gunshot wounds and their injuries were not life-threatening. 19 people were injured at the 19 people were injured at the vigil. Most of them were hurt during the stampede. Businesses at the shopping center had declined to give police surveillance video on the night of the vigil, but using the warrant, police took video recorders from the Marathon, a mobile phone store, and a barbershop.
Damn.
So there's our answer right there, as to where that footage went. Officer Scott Swanson was the one that wrote the warrant, and so it's it appears from what the Associated Press has reported that the LAPD confiscated the additional camera angles.
Let me ask you this, because we had a lot of different theories that came out, and there was a lot of theories that were being thrown around. But like I said, we try to just be as educated as possible, being in a position we are, looking at it from a neutral point of view.
Yes,
and
sir.
The LAPD in particular was somebody or some faction that we were like, if there was anything that raised a red flag, it may be them, because of the relationship that they had with Nip and various things that went on. If there were any conspiracy theories that we can hang our hat on, it's maybe that the LAPD had a little more to do with the situation that meets the eye. Now we see the situation with Eric Holder going on. We've seen the guns. We've seen him running. It looks like a case of cut and dry where this dude was just a fool acting on his own accord. But we can't help but to look at certain things and make us believe there may be more to the story, without being ignorant to the actual case. Or not being ignorant to the actual case. In your opinion, how much, if any, does the LAPD have involvement in this situation?
Well, that's a tough question. So I can't put like a percentage on it, or anything like that, and I try not to speculate too much these days, just as tightening it up from a journalistic standpoint. The only thing I can do is look at and analyze the data. We got to look at these programs that they've had, like the citywide nuisance abatement program. I believe TJ Lofton spoke about that, and Kenyatta spoke about that as well. Now, that program had been launching an attack on that property, not necessarily just Nip, but on that property itself, for the quote unquote the gang activity. In all fairness, they did have a point, it appears, from the footage that we see in the stories, the police reports that have come out. It appears that they did have a point, but this is Los Angeles, and there's a lot of tribal boundaries. Is what I'm saying? It's a very tribal area, and so the infractions that they were utilizing to attack that property, they were really applicable to any property that you go to in Los Angeles. So in that regard, it seems, we can raise an eyebrow to that. Then you have, Operation Laser with the data-driven policing. There's a great piece that came out. It's called Automated Banishment, and they go into a detail of how things like Cal Gangs, which was their database for registering who they thought or who they knew were gang members. There were children as young as 1 year old inside of Cal Gangs. So this is a point that is real important. Nipsey, according to Wes McBride, the creator of Cal Gangs, was very likely inside of that database. He had been stopped like multiple times. Nip talks about that. He was definitely in Cal Gangs, if you ask me. But so Nipsey, as it pertains to the property of 3420 West Slauson Avenue, the owner of that property is actually an entity. It's called Slauson and Crenshaw Ventures LLC. The registered agents, or the people that own that company, are Samuel Askinam and David Gross, right? So they had it's such a cold game. Nipsey wasn't on this property listed on Slauson and Crenshaw Ventures LLC as an owner due to that that database of Cal Gangs. Because what happens when you're underneath the guise of the citywide nuisance abatement program, at the end of the day, if you continue to get infractions, they can just snatch your property from you. So do not pass go. Don't collect the 200. They just take your property, and you just got to deal with that. So any time that he stepped on his own property, it could have been utilized as an infraction, you know, to go against them using the citywide nuisance abatement program. So that's one reason why he wasn't, listed as a principal owner. But to wrap it up with the LAPD, we just got to look at the data and things like that. And if there's some type of cover up happening here, if there's a conspiracy that's happening here, which if we could just get some answers for these questions, like with time. But if there are no answers, and there is a continued discrepancy, or we find out that in fact this time was not 320, but it was, then you would have to. And there are factions, there are people inside of the LAPD, not the LAPD as a whole, but there would be some corrupt, members inside of it, and they don't have a very clean history for having a clean house all the way,
Right.
a la Rampart and however many other scandals.